Hey guys, excited to be here with you all and excited to talk about this topic of modernizing the enterprise website for speed, scale, and AI. And one of my favorite topics as we're going into 2026, we've all heard about how digital agility is the new superpower for marketing and for organizations. Yet we find marketers continue to struggle because their demands for what they need to do, how efficiently they want to do it, how expedient they need to be to deliver is always increasing. And the website continues to become a hurdle to deliver on that promise. In this session today, I'm super excited to have Joe and Stu with me to talk about this topic. And we're going to explore the Corn Ferry journey that we've been on probably for the last year and a half to migrate from a legacy CMS to Webflow in 2026. And the whole kind of discussion around why they embarked on this journey, what were the challenges they were thinking about, what went into the decision-making process, and where are they today? We'll cover ideas around key parameters they considered, how they de-risked the project, and how they are embracing the new AI-enabled world going forward. So let's get started with introductions. I'll start with Stu. Stu, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Caesar. So I bring 25 years of creative and digital experience to the role of head of digital strategy at Corn Ferry. My responsibility is the team that's managing all of our digital footprint and customer experience as well, which is where we've been partnering with the Iron Horse team for a number of years now.
Awesome. Welcome. Joe, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey everyone, I'm Joe Gelman. I'm at Webflow now, product marketing manager. I manage a small team that focuses on market dynamics, some of our more thought leadershipy type of marketing content, and probably have about 10 years or so more hands-on consulting experience with design development and marketing teams around design systems and doing that kind of brand consistency at scale. So yeah, very excited to be here.
Awesome. Welcome. And I'm your host, Uzair Data, founder and CEO of Iron Horse. Really excited to have this conversation. We've been partnering with Stu and the Corn Ferry team now for several years and are big partners and huge fans of Webflow. So it should be an awesome conversation. So guys, let's get in. So the first question I have, Stu, for you is choosing to make a switch and moving from a legacy CMS and updating and rebranding and refreshing your website is a massive decision. Sort of what got you guys to that point to sort of take that leap?
I guess the word that comes to mind is frustration. So the legacy CMS we were on was continually creating bottlenecks for us. It was, multiple single points of failure, always needing to call on, extreme development processes to get anything done. And the timelines of getting those things done just seem to be going up. And I think when I reflect on it, it was timing, conversations with you. We were talking about CX and asking the question, why do these things take so long? And that's when we first thought, you know what, we need to make a change. And we started down this path of evaluating what was out there. We were talking about the different options open to us, and we're really keen to move away from these really sort of huge platforms that really are overkill for what we're trying to do, certainly at Corn Ferry, and where speed to market and relevance are so important to what we're trying to do. Getting hung up in development time it just wasn't right. So we went through the process, we had the conversations, and I'm pleased to say we're on that path now.
Yeah, I distinctly remember that the amount of requests coming from leadership teams and product teams and service leadership teams just continuing to increase, and how it would completely distract the team from doing what they need to be able to do. And so we were always behind. And then there was a big tech debt that was accumulating and that we had to sort of address, that we just kept pushing to the side and just said, yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it. And we
a parking lot of stuff that needed to be taken care of that we could never get to because there was
right.
another request and another request.
You were always deprioritizing. And then I think the other thing that was kind of also interesting too, that we had really good, well-known platforms and tools, but we had so many of them.
Mm.
Everything was disjointed, right? We were trying to do little things because a platform was not able to do it. So you had to incorporate another component, and that led to sort of analytics not being aligned. That led to other challenges that needed to happen. So we were trying to create what we thought was the right solution by piecemealing different things together that led to even more complexity,
Mhm.
that led to even more slowdown. So I think it was just sort of it started just to balloon up. Joe, do you have sort of from a kind of as your vantage point of dealing with so many different companies, do you have sort of other insights into how enterprises and mid-market companies are thinking about when they're making a change to Webflow?
Yeah, and I think Stu, what Stu mentioned around bottlenecks and what you were talking about with siloed systems, that's a really familiar thing that we hear from folks that are coming into the Webflow world. I think that there's a couple customer quotes that have stuck with me over the years. One is we need a speedboat, not a battleship. I
Hmm.
think that Stu was kind of touching on this, like we don't need this huge platform that we can't do anything with. And I actually think that I like that metaphor. That came from a customer, but I actually think that the way that I think about it more broadly is that a lot of times teams try and solve the wrong problem when they're reevaluating their web tooling, basically, whether that's builder, manager, optimizer, whatever it is. Um, and Stu, you touched on this. You said bottlenecks and it's heavy. I think what is the underlying problem there is that everything that you do creates tech debt. Everything that you do begins and ends with adding to the engineering backlog. So this is that kind of thing that people, it's scary to migrate because it can take 9 months when everything has to be set up with developers. Every time that you want to redo something with some of those underlying building blocks around design systems or templates or whatever themes, whatever you call them, anytime you want to run an experiment, anytime you want to personalize or localize, all roads lead to the eng backlog just growing and growing and growing. And so I think that a lot of these tools that people consider out there, that is what they should be thinking of when they go into it. If you go from, like a big DXP, and then you go into just another tool, like a headless tool, for example, that is you're just swapping out dev work for dev work. You need to kind of think about how can we empower marketing without adding to that development backlog. And so that's where I see if people try and solve the wrong problem, they end up with the same problem after after the migration, basically.
Yeah, I think what was really cool at a Corn Ferry, Stu, if you remember, you and I having this conversation, we built this business case. It was an awesome business case and said, here are all the things, here are all the benefits. And there were a pretty significant ROI just year one from just consolidation and simplification. And when Stu took that to the CMO, Stu, what was the question that Jill asked you? And it was, why are you doing this? Are you
No,
doing this to save money?
yeah. She did it. If you're doing this to save money, that's the wrong reason.
Yeah.
Was the and I mean, I won't name any players, but the general gist was nobody gets fired for using insert brand, right?
Yeah.
Um, which kind of speaks to her position of not really knowing much about Webflow at the time. Um, that presenting great risk to her as a CMO. And I think that was, the business case was kind of easy to pull together. We knew where the benefits were. We could see it
Yeah.
from having looked at the platform, evaluated it against others. We could see where we were going to make strides as a team and not only be on the back foot all the time, but actually start to be that proactive web team that's forward looking and adding value. I think what we needed to do more than the business case was get a sort of group decision on board. So we were talking to peers of my CMO in the IT organization, making sure they were on board, understanding what the offers were and any risk. And I think that process and how Webflow helped us in finding some advocates of the platform that are using it now, and getting insight with them. And Jill was able to speak to a CMO in a similar position who'd been through a similar migration. That's where we won, I
Yeah.
think, in this journey. And now, we're just looking forward to sort of delivering on the rest of the business case as we saw it, which was much more sort of practical in operations, and being more efficient and being able to scale our operations.
Okay, that's a perfect transition to the next question, which is, it's one thing to want to change, and it's the other to actually going through the migration process. When we all think about website migration, especially at the enterprise level, for someone like you that has tens of thousands of pages and so many different locales in a global organization, with everything that's been there, everything that's stitched together, the term that comes to my mind and the image that comes to my mind is a root canal. And so, it's everyone, and that's the reason a lot of times we all freak out and don't go through it. So maybe talk about how the switch is going so far, how the migration is going so far, and sort of like, how did you all think about it?
Well, I mean, we kind of set a strategy. We moved aggressively. We had a pretty aggressive timeline. So I don't think anyone stopped to think about it, because we were all so bought into this shift and away from where we were, that no one really considered any of that reticence or that pain that we might feel from the migration.
Yeah.
But I think what really set our minds at ease as we started that migration process was the speed to progress. Right? We were again, I'm trying to be tactful. It wasn't easy getting content out of our old platform, but getting it in was really easy. And I think we started to see content shifting over to the new platform very, very quickly, which was, when you've gone through this process of saying this thing's going to make us so much quicker, you start to see, oh, this is real. That kind of started to put people's minds at ease. And then, we're looking at how quickly we can implement that design system, which gives us a significant facelift compared to where we are today. And again, how, we're componentizing that, applying it to new designs. We're seeing pages go up at a rate of knots now, again, which it's just validating, I think, is what I'll say. You've made this decision, you've jumped in feet first. Is it as good as you thought it was? And when we're starting to see that, we've got, we've enabled a bunch of folks on our side. We've gone outside of the realms of our team, because there's a bit of an all hands on deck, sleeves rolled up mentality. And the folks we're showing the system are just delighted with how simple it is to use, which is not the feedback we had of our previous platform. So these are the things that, as we go through the migration, and what is without a doubt a stretch for our team, is it keeps us heartened.
Yeah, I think super cool points. I'd add, collectively, the Iron Horse team, the Corn Ferry team, and the Webflow team from day one was one team. I mean, this is one of my favorite examples. We did a joint kickoff in Portland and sort of came together and kind of talked about how we are excited about the opportunity. The team was not afraid of being imperfect or not having all the information. So knew that we would have bumps in the road. We would not everything. Even though we had planning, we were prepared for the unexpected. But when the unexpected happens, the ability for the three sides to collaborate is just incredible. It's awesome. And okay, it's not there, or it's coming, or this is on the roadmap for Webflow. What can we do in the interim? So I think it's that mindset, to me, was incredible. I think the other thing that I think Stu alluded to, which is being able to show quick wins, being able to migrate 60-70% of the pages using the MCP server, like this, was incredible. Having multiple people that had never built anything on the legacy CMS, but now are building on Webflow. The team already expanded. Incredible during the process. Being able to show and tell other people and riff really easily and talk about that, pretty awesome. So I think it was just that. And then being very principled. I think having a design system approach, kind of aligning on stuff, curating content. Like, we didn't want to just lift and shift. Like, that's a lot of times, a lot of large companies to expedite will just lift and shift. That's great in certain cases, but in most cases, you're just moving garbage over. So we're being very intentional about what we do. And really the teams challenge each other. It's kind of super cool. Like, why are we doing this way? Is it really necessary? And it's not one function. It's not dev or design or content or creative. It's sort of collectively, and people are very comfortable in that role. And that I think has been just an awesome partnership.
That
Joe, yeah,
that expands beyond our team, our collective team,
yeah, yeah,
into our marketing organization, because everyone's starting to question what we've always done.
100%,
You've got a
100%.
legacy platform that's bloated, not just from a code base, but from content. So as you say, bringing it over and curating and stripping back and trying to simplify it's been a good opportunity as part of the process. There's sort of catharsis in that as well, that it gets us to look at how our digital footprint is shown to the world.
Joe, I don't know if you have any thoughts from other projects that you guys have enabled as to like what are things that the team should be sort of thinking about and be prepared about, or how they should approach it.
Yeah, I've got I've got lots of thoughts. Two things that Stu mentioned that I thought were spot on. One is this idea that every team is starting to reevaluate. Like, well, we've done things this way, maybe like why? And the old adage, like when all you've got is a hammer, the whole world looks like a nail. That's what a lot of these marketing teams are forced into thinking. They're like, we have been delivered these templates, these building blocks from
Yeah.
development. We know if we want to do anything custom, anything interesting, if we want to like experiment, it's gonna have to go back to development. And so they kind of stop before they even start to get creative, to do the really fun, interesting, and revenue generating marketing work. They stop before they start, basically, for that. So I see that on a lot of teams, and that's been a cool way for Webflow to kind of unlock that. And the other thing that y'all have touched on is the speed. Um, I think that is a very, very crucial thing to underscore. One of my favorite customer stories for Webflow, Nurse, they migrated 40,000 pages in 19 days. And then they were performing better and faster, and they were iterating upon them 10x faster or something like that. So speed, absolutely. What I know that you will find moving forward, Stu and Uzair, the we talked about the scary M word, migration. We didn't talk about the scary R word, rebrand, which will always happen. There's always going to be a rebrand. And so the scale, how do we move fast, but do so with intentionality and this idea of scale in our mind, so that we're building componentry that we can update, and it'll cascade across all of our web properties. That's very important. Anecdotally, many years ago, a famous, I won't name them, but a famous music streaming company with a green logo, I consulted with them it took us 8 months to find and correct every green hex value to the right thing. It's because they hadn't thought about building things in a scalable way. So that's kind of that importance of design systems and componentry. The other piece, though, that you'll see as you get more into Webflow is that there is a very easy way to see, touch, edit, customize the code. So as more technical folks get involved, as more disciplines who want to kind of layer on to the work that you're already doing really quickly, you won't hit that ceiling. Like a lot of today, there's a lot of vibe coding tools out there where you can just vibe code a website. What that is doing is it's raising the ceiling for who can build web properties very quickly. Excuse me, raising the floor of who can build those web properties. But it's also lowering the ceiling of what you can do with that. How can you build upon it? How can like the truly technical folks, how can the design ambassadors, how do the growth teams, how do they take that and build upon it? And so I think that's where you'll see as you keep getting into more of the Webflow, you get the stuff built over, you've built in a scalable way, but then you'll start to see how you can expand both in terms of design development, all those other disciplines, but also scaling those brand assets across channels, across scale, and then when you need to make a change, it'll be a lot easier than doing 8 months of hunting for hex values.
It's awesome. All right, so let's now talk about sort of like the last question that we want to cover today. And I'll start with Stu, and then would love to hear your thoughts. So, Stu, now that we're in the middle of it, or I'd say we're two-thirds or three-quarters of the way through it, sort of what are some ways, and you're in the cab for Webflow, you've been to a bunch of Webflow comms, you're sort of in it, you're using it, you're touching it. What are some ways you feel Webflow sort of future-proofs Korn Ferry with all the stuff that's going around us?
The one that comes to mind, I think, is, I mean, we talked about AI at the top of the call, right? The AI assistant, and what we saw at Webflow Conf, and um, the things that can do and bring to the platform, that's just crazy.
Yeah,
We're talking about prompting to a prototype in minutes. I mean, that's superb. When I think about what we want to do with this platform and how we want to test, how we
yeah,
want to play and try things and fail fast, that kind of all plays into it for me, and we're excited about that. I think I'd go one further. We like, I'm sure a lot of marketing teams, when it comes to testing, we know it should be done. We know it's kind of table stakes to get to the most appropriate call to action or what image works best. We struggle with it. I'll be honest, and I really got quite excited at Webflow Conf about the idea that you can ask the AI assistant, "What should I test on this page?" So you're kind of giving away that mental load. It will come back to you with some tests you can try, and you can implement them straight away through Optimize,
yeah.
which is impressive.
I think the notion of to focus on performance and not setup is a
Mm.
different mindset. I mean, like that's a different unlock. We're so used to everything is focused on getting to that point, and then we move to the same thing, reset, we restart, we restart, we restart, versus saying, okay, a lot of the housekeeping is now done, so I actually have time to look at the answers and look at the data. I have the ability to now not just A/B test, but do that at scale in a way
Scale.
that I never thought about. Like we all talk about it. This is something if you remember like a year ago versus now, people are like, "Oh, I don't think this is going to work." And my answer is, "Well, let's just try it."
Yep.
Why are we arguing you're
Why
right?
are we
I'm
even having a
right.
conversation? Well,
Why are we?
I couldn't agree more. And I think one of the things we see, because of the way the functions work in our marketing organization, we'll have campaign teams coming in auditing stuff that's going on the
Yeah,
website. I can't wait for the day when I say, look, you don't need to audit anymore. Just go try some stuff. Just
yeah,
go use
yeah,
Optimize. I mean, that process has already started, right? Because
yeah.
we can use that on our current platform, which is getting us into some good habits as we ramp up for this migration. But I'm like, just go try things, and it's exciting. Like I said, the idea that we can scale those kind of operations with far few, with the resources that we have, right? We don't have to scale our team. We can do it via the platform. We can try multiple landing pages. We can target to multiple personas. We can target to multiple ad campaigns and media. That stuff, it gives me a bit of a a headache when I think about it on current platforms. So to get there and enable our teams it'll be super exciting. And I think again it'll be another win in the win column for the platform.
It's awesome. All right, so we the new word du jour in 2025 was AEO or GEO. We've all heard it. Everyone wants it. No one understands it. I think Webflow, if anyone has done a phenomenal job amplifying it. I was talking to your VP of Growth, Josh Grant, yesterday. He was saying, you guys have single digit market share, but you show up in over 60% of CMS related search results. That's insane, right? The ability to enable that, empower that to be part of those new conversations. And I know you guys are doing a lot in platform to make that easier so that in the new world where we have to build for humans and for machines, that it's kind of enabled as part of Webflow. So Joe, maybe it'd be good to just talk about how Webflow is enabling that and perhaps a sneak peek of what to expect in the future.
Yeah, totally. So the way that I think about this new world we're in is AEO, obviously, like, yeah, a hot topic. That's half of the picture. So how do we get answer engines to accurately represent our brand? The other half of like the AI picture is kind of what Stu was already touching on. How do modern marketing teams, how do they adopt AI into their workflows to make them work better and faster and like do all the things, build all the web properties, manage them, optimize them faster, and yeah, just to have that kind of AI counterpart to you. And so I'll touch on both. I think the AI counterpart or co-pilot, for lack of a better term, I think you'll see a lot more of that in Webflow. So we're already seeing some really cool things like what we have live today, where people go and prompt and like, hey, what can you tell me what's wrong with my SEO? Oh, you're missing some meta tags. Cool. Can you just fix that for me? Like that sort of things where that manual work that just doesn't need to be done anymore, or like you can at least can like see what's happening. But that sort of thing, what Stu touched upon, but like which experiments should I run? Well, here's some ideas. And also, if you want to use AI optimized to dynamically kind of route traffic to the best performing
Okay.
experiments for the right personas, you've got that too. So that's kind of like how do we build and optimize our web properties so that when the answer engines are out there looking into our brand, trying to represent that, it's they're doing it in the best way. The other part of it too, though, is it's not just having a structurally sound website. That is something that Webflow is really, really great at. A lot of the just like core fundamentals, Webflow kind of bakes in a lot of the web ops, DevOps kind of best practices as folks like Stu are using the product. But also the ability to create really visually stunning experiences so that you're making things that seem credible to both humans and our robot overlords. Basically, it needs to have both of those pieces so that more humans are engaging and finding your brand and the way that you're answering questions credible, and then that kind of structural foundation underneath everything. So the two pieces of like using AI and also like optimizing your web presence for AI, that's where you're going to see Webflow. We're already doing some great stuff, but you'll see us kind of march in both those directions.
That's awesome. Joe and Stu, thank you. Thank you very much for your time. I love the fact that in this new age, brand and demand are not competitive words. They can coexist. And then humans and machines are not competitive. They can coexist. I think it's kind of a exciting time to be in a place where you can sort of make simple things possible, which were not possible yesterday. If you all want to learn more about how to improve digital agility or sort of lessons from Corn Ferry and Webflow and how to think about enterprise transformation and how we at Iron Horse Studio can be of help, please reach out, visit our website, and there'll be some more links on the page below for you to go and check out. So appreciate the time today and excited for this conversation. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Vijay.